Welcome to a new video in our home automation series, and I believe in one of the recent Influx and reporting Grafana video I mentioned that I created this report which shows me my balance, and I said I'm going to improve on that because I want to create an estimated, like a live reading or a live balance. And I think I just managed to do that, and probably it's going to take me a couple of days just to make sure that it is working. But I mean, working as in working correctly, but it is already showing me a value which I think is correct. So what is happening here is, again, just to recap what I already mentioned in the last video, is that I'm on a yearly tariff with my electricity provider, which means that I get a billable reading once a year. And then within that year, since the billable reading, I can basically use the grid as a buffer or as a big battery. So anything that let's say anything that I generate using solar panels, any excess electricity that I generate, I can feed it into the grid. I don't get paid immediately, but then at the end of the year, the company is going to look at all the things that I've used and all the things that I generated, and then it just create a balance for me. And this is what I wanted to see, because it looks like that since I upgraded my solar panels, I didn't think that this upgrade was so big, because in my previous panels, I was in the summer I was able to cover my usage, but obviously in the winter it was next to nothing. And it looks like now that even though I've upgraded more than twice the capacity from 3 kilowatts to 7 kilowatts, it looks like that, I don't know, in reality it looks like a lot more generation, maybe because it's such a new system and the solar panels are performing much better, or maybe the inverter is better, or maybe everything is just better. So even though it's only in the beginning of April, but it looks like that since the new system has gone online, I've already generated more electricity than I used, and summer is still yet to come. And that's what I want to see. So here in the balance, I store the meter readings in Influx DB. So I stored my billable reading at the beginning of the year, and then I'm making I'm creating a meter reading once a month. So I just read my meters, and this is always going to calculate me how much electricity that I've used since the billable reading in the beginning of the year. And the minus 270 kilowatt hours means that I used 270 kilowatt hours more, 170 kilowatt hours from the grid. And obviously now it is the 4th of April, and I usually have my billing cycle on the 8th, so it's coming up in 4 days. So this obviously doesn't calculate anything that I used since the 8th of March. But I also have a Shelly 3 EM, so that's a 3-phase electricity meter. I made a separate video on that. And what I wanted to do is look at what the Shelly was showing me when I had the last meter reading, which is 8th of March in my case, and then how much it shows now. And then that's going to give me an indication of how much I used in the partial months since the last meter reading. And the reason I'm saying estimated, because obviously, the Shelly is probably not certified to, measure the same amount as my official meter reading. And the second reason is that all my meters are outside at the fence on the property. And then, I mean, it has a couple of sockets there, and for example, my pump and the the gate doors and everything runs on straight off the meter, which is there, and there are a couple of sockets and the breakers, and then the electricity comes into my house, and that's the point where I have the Shelly EM. So that the Shelly 3 EM. So it technically doesn't see the consumption and the generation of the entire house. So that's going to be some difference. I think it's going to be very minor, but there is going to be a difference. So it looks like that since the beginning of last month, actually from minus 170 I have gone into plus 111, so it looks like I've generated about 200 kilowatts excess electricity to what I used. I mean, we had some really nice weather. It was mostly sunny. It was cold because it's still March, so I think this is probably optimal for the solar panels. But still, it looks like a little bit. I don't know. I'm being a little bit cautious, not trying to be too optimistic about my generation. And the reason I'm making this video because I can talk you through the the whole selection and the flux query, and then in a couple of days when I make the so in a couple of days when I do my meter readings, which is going to be on the 8th, then I'm going to see what the screen looks, and I put the meter readings in and I refresh the screen, and ideally these readings should be very close to each other. So we'll see if that happens. Okay, so let me open up this, because the as you can see, the query is absolutely massive. So if I just copy the query into Notepad, then I think what I'm also going to do is I'm just going to call up InfluxDB so we can execute the whole query one by one. And I go to my Influx instance and go to Explore, and we can see how that works. Can I make this? Oh yeah, I can. So let's look at the flux query. So I'm not going to do that portion of the flux query because that's exactly what I've already discussed in the previous video. So that is calculating, let me just go back, that is calculating this balance. So it looks at my last billable reading and then my last meter reading, and then it calculates the difference. I made one small change here. I was doing a calculation based off the peak reading and the peak generated reading and the off-peak reading, and I just removed the off-peak from this calculation because, well, later on I find out that the way they do the electricity company does the calculation is the generation, the off-peak does not count into the generation. You know, off-peak is a separate tariff, so whatever I use in off-peak, I need to pay for that. But whatever I use on the peak tariff, that would get deducted, or by the generation. So anyway, so this calculation had been tweaked just a little bit. I've removed one subtraction or one part of it, but the rest is the same. So now what I wanted to do is I wanted to create do very similar thing on the Shelly free EM readings. So what I needed to do first is here what I'm doing for the billable reading is obviously I get the latest billable reading and I do some pivot here just to make sure that it's in a format that I can process later on. But what I also needed to do here is I needed to find the time when I had the last billable reading. Sorry, actually the last reading. So it's this one. So the last reading, which in my case that was 8th of last month. In one of my previous video, I mentioned how you can use the find table and the get record flux method if you want to use a single value from a table, because obviously whatever InfluxDB returns is a table stream. So on that table stream, you need to find a specific table, and then you get a specific record on that table. Even though if you have only one table and that record only has one rows, but the query doesn't know that because it can have multiple records. So if I only look at this one, if I go back to Flux and I execute this, let me just go to the table view. So you can see that this is the result. So I'm looking for the meter readings that are not billable, and I'm looking for electricity meter readings. So that's the same structure that I used before, and I get the last value. I get a table stream with 3 tables, and they have different keys because obviously we have different fields. and this is why I used the pivot in my previous example. But what I really need is I need this underscore time. So this is the time when I took the last meter reading, when I read the meters for the last time. So obviously they are the same because it's the same record. Well, you can't see that, but anyway, it's the same. So what I can do now here, because this is before pivot, is I can find the table. I can use the find table method. So out of these 3 tables, I only need one because the time, as I said, the time is going to be the same from them. So I just said, okay, find me the table which has a field where the underscore field is off peak. So that and we can't see that. So this reduces the number of tables into from the 3 to 1, and then when you also add the get record index 0, it will get the first record. As I said, it only has first record anyway, but you have to do that because this is the only way you can reference the time field, the time value, or well, yeah, the time field using an expression like this. So I put, as you can see, I put this the value of this selection into a variable which is called the current time, and then I can make a selection using that current time. So let me copy this part of the selection so you can see how it looks like in Influx. So let me just remove this, and then probably I also remove that. So again, if you remember, the underscore time was the first, this is April, so that was the 8th of March. Yeah, that was 8th of March. So again, I run a selection on my Node-RED bucket, starting from -2 years up to that date, which is the 8th of March. And I select sensors, and my Shelly puts all the readings into a device which is called house underscore phase 1, phase 0, phase 1, and phase 2. How can I make this go away? No, I can't. And yeah, I also select the field total and total return because this is those are the 2 readings that the Shelly reports as the accumulated usage and the accumulated return. And so that would obviously give me a lot of readings from the last 2 years, and I only need the last. The reason I did the last 2 years, because if I'm on a yearly billing cycle, I wanted something a little bit more than, well, I wanted something more than 1 year. Maybe I could have put like 13 months, but I think it doesn't matter a lot. Okay, maybe I shouldn't say that because I'm not sure. So anyway, I wanted to make sure that it includes the at least 1 year. So well, I wanted to play safe to say -2 years. So anyway, I only care about the last one. So if I execute this, you will see that this is the information that I get back. So I get the total return and the total, and of course I get it 6 times. Well, I get 6 tables because the device is going to be different. So there is phase 0, total return, phase 1, and phase 2 for all 3. So our selection is working, and as you can see, it is selecting the reading for the 8th of March. And I think I specified that my reading was at 9 o'clock. So it selected the last reading before 9 o'clock. So that was 8:54. So that seems to be working. And yeah, that was the last. And then what I wanted to do is obviously again I need to eventually get all these table streams into one single table. So just like before, I did a pivot, but this time I did a pivot on not based on time but based on measurement, because I think the way Shelly sends the information and the way the information is saved in the database, the phase 0, phase 1, and phase 2 actually have a very slightly different timestamp. I didn't really care about that when I saved the data, but this is why I cannot just aggregate the values by the time. But then I decided I'm going to pick another value which is going to be the same for all these records, which, well, essentially it is. So I said, okay, I want to group them by, or pivot them by, the field device and also the fields, like the total, and the values are going to be values. So if I do that, now you can see that I get a single entry. Well, it doesn't contain the time anymore, but to be honest, I don't really care about that. So now it shows me what was the the phase 1, phase 0, phase 1, phase 2 total, and the total return. So it has all the values that I need, and that is going to give me the closest value the closest value from the Shelly when I did the meter reading. Good. And now I need to do exactly the same, but do the last meter reading, which is like now, or maybe like 5 or 10 minutes ago. And I'm not going to put this into Influx because it's pretty much the same. As you can see, I'm doing the exact same query. The difference is the range. So I just said the -1 week. So I'm only looking at the last 1 week. I'm not sure why I did last 1 week. Maybe I could have done last 1 day. I did -1 week in case, I don't know, maybe the Shelly breaks down and I don't restart it within a day, so I don't have meter readings for a day, but I should be able to, fix any issues within a week. So this is why I did a week. So again, I get the last and I do the pivot. So that would create a very similar structure like this. Obviously, the meter readings are going to be different because these are the readings for the current, well, the closest to the current time. And now I need to join stuff. So let me see if I can do that. Oh, yeah. So, and I have used joined in the last video as well. And this is where you can join values from two tables, but join them into a single record. So I'm calling, well, I put the Shelly values from the last meter reading into a variable which is called the old usage, and then the one which is the current one into a variable which is the current usage. And I said, combine the table's old usage with the current usage, and they please use old usage and then current usage prefixes for the fields. And then I had to pick a value or a field which is the same in both tables, because it's going to join them based on the records that have the same values. And I think in the previous example I used the time to join them. No, the type. But here the time wasn't same, the device wasn't same, so but the measurement was the same because they are sensors measurement. So I just picked the measurement. Again, it's just only one record in both of them, and they have the same measurement. And now, as you can see, well, the measurement is sensors, as I said, and now I have an awful lot of fields because originally I had 6 fields in each table. I mean 6 numeric fields in each table. I joined them, so now I have 12. And as you can see, the fields are either postfix with the current usage, which is here, or the old usage, which is here. So again, I have all the values in a single table, which means that I can create a calculation. So I can create a mapping. I can use the map function to create a new field, and that's going to be, well, I call this Shelly usage. I'm not being really consistent with the names, and that basically gives me how much I have used since the last meter reading, based on what the Shelly measures. And you can see the calculation here. Basically, I do I subtract the current usage from the old usage. So the usage now since the 8th of last month. And I do this on phase 1, so phase 0, phase 1, and phase 2. Oh, you look, I made a typo. So I do this on each of the phases separately, and I do this with a minus sign. So minus means that I owe money to the electricity company, and I do the same for the current total return, because that's the excess that I generated, and I do again for phase 0, phase 1, and phase 2. Oh, so it's 229. So that means I've used that much, and I just realized that I made a mistake here. So let me just quickly fix in the live version as well. So where is this big calculation? So as you can see, phase 0, phase 0, phase 1, phase 1, you know, rookie copy and paste issue. Oops. Oh, okay, it's less. That is actually better, because again, I didn't want to be, you know, overly optimistic about my generation. Let me save the changes. Okay. So that calculates the consumption based on the Shelly, and yeah. So now I have, from the previous query, I have the consumption based on my meter readings from the official, you know, utility meters, and now I also have for the partial month from the Shelly. So I just need to add the two together. So again, in order to create a calculation and use the same map functions, I need to again join this table with the table that I used in the past. And again, for the join, I need this on statement or this on parameter, so a common value that I can use in both cases. And I actually don't have a common value because they are coming from different measurement, different times, different values, everything is different. So I thought I'm just going to, you know, create a dummy field, which is called the join, and it has a value of 1. Yeah, and I have done exactly the same for the other table, which I used in the previous version. So as you can see, I create a map, and then the field join with a value of 1. And once I have done that, I can actually join these two tables together. So now I copy and paste the entire, almost the entire Flux query. Yeah, and now I have so many fields that you can't even see it on the screen. And if I do this one, okay, it becomes a little bit more visible. But what you can see here is, well, the first thing is that I find it a little bit funny, or a little bit strange, not that I really care, but when I create a join, I said, what is the table that I want to join, and what would be the postfix of the fields. So I clearly say that I want to join meter readings with a meter readings postfix and a Shelly with a Shelly postfix. But it doesn't seem that it added the postfix this time. But because the fields in both tables are completely different, I don't really care about that, to be honest. So as you can see, we have the Shelly usage here from the new table, and we have the balance from the other table somewhere. It's here. So it's basically the minus 70, which is this one. And then I need to add the additional thing, which is calculated from the Shelly, which is the 280. So then the difference of these two is going to be this 59.3. I mean, obviously now it's a little bit different because, well, I created the Grafana like 5 minutes ago, and maybe a new reading has come in. Anyway, I mean, since we have gotten this far, I think it's going to be really easy. So I just needed to add a map function, which is going to be called the balance underscore estimate, and that's the Shelly usage plus the balance. If I do that, I think, where's the new field? You don't tell me somewhere. No, it's here. So 110. Oh, yeah. stupid copy and paste of the same thing. Okay, 59. So it is working, and now it gives me, well, it gives me a whole load of information, and I can just put it into Grafana and display this single value. And I can't really figure out why, but in Grafana, I could clearly say, or I can clearly see this balance estimate here in the dropdown. And of course, I could see all the other fields, but even if I selected this balance underscore estimate, it was giving me a no value. And I mean, clearly the information is there. Even if I debug it, the information is there, but it wasn't working. And I thought, okay, what if there are too many tables in this view, and that is, freaking up Grafana? So I said, okay, only keep me the balance estimate and drop everything else. And if you do this, you get a single value. And this is what I've done. So if you see, it has this keep columns balance estimate. And once I've done that, then in the fields I could pick that. I mean, now it's only a single field, so you can just leave it on the default numeric fields as well. And I set the unit to kilowatt hours, so I can see the unit here as well. And yeah, I think I had a default threshold which I removed, so it always shows me in green. No, I think I should. Maybe I could use colors, like if it's below 0, then it's red, and if it's above 0, then it's green. But anyway, yeah, maybe I can do that in the future. Oh, maybe I can do that now. So if it's 0, then it's green, and if it's below 0, then it's red. Obviously it stays green. Let me just do the same for this one. So if this doesn't make sense. So if it's 0, then it's green, and the base is red. Oh yeah, okay, it works. Let me save this one. So red means that I have to pay, green means that I will get paid at the end of the year. Okay, so a few days have passed, and I have the readings here, and this is how it looks like at the moment. So based on just the reading itself, I'm minus 170 kilowatt hours, and based on the estimate which the Shelly gives me, I'm actually in plus 86 kilowatt hours. So now I'm going to enter these media readings, and then when I refresh this, then hopefully this is going to show around 86 as well, and that should be just 86. That shouldn't really change. Whew, fingers crossed. So that's my Node-RED dashboard, and this is where I put my my thing. So today is the 7th, and the time is I'm going to put 20 because 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. Because I did the meter reading probably about an hour ago. And okay, so it's not going to be billing relevant, and it's going to be the electricity reading. So the date is correct, yeah, the time is correct, and my off peak is 4869, and my regular on peak is 24296. And my generation is 11800. So that looks about right. So save electricity reading. Okay, good. Whew, moment of truth. Okay. I think that works. So yeah, there is, it looks like my Shelly measures more than my actual official meter reading. How much was that before? 87, and now it's 70. But anyway, in ballpark it's good, and obviously I can see that since the beginning of the year I've generated more than I actually consumed, and Yeah, and my life, yeah, so the life balance is for some reason is lower, but anyway, this is all about, estimated, but I think in ballpark it is working. So I'm quite happy with that, because now I can continue how much how much I generate running up to the summer. And actually I was already contacted a company how much it would be cost to have a heat pump installed. I mean, I already have an external chiller which is already connected to my radiant heating system. So that chiller can technically be replaced with a heat pump which can not only supply cold water, but it can also supply hot water. So I should be able to use the excess electricity in the winter to heat my house, so I don't have to use my gas, which, if you know what's happening in the world, you probably can understand that that could be a safe hedge, going forward in the next winter. But let's see what happens with that. I think this is all I wanted to cover for today. So thanks for watching, and hopefully see you in the next video.